In celebration of fear, I love talking about fear. It's a really fascinating topic. We're going to cover why I believe you should celebrate fear and then 3 ways to actually do that. So, why are we talking about fear in the first place? As a coach, my job so much is to be with people in their fear and help them through it. Like that big thing that you want, or those small habit changes that you are desirous of, whatever it is, often the thing that is holding you back, it's not necessarily your drive or motivation or whatever, it's that it's scary. And our system doesn't particularly like that. And so we make it really hard for ourselves to do that. And this shows up for me as well as a business owner of a growing business and as somebody just on a personal level who really believes in living vibrantly. Like, there's scary stuff every single day. So I'm with you on this. I see how it shows up for me. I see how it shows up for my clients. And I think that there's real power in celebrating fear instead of being afraid of it. So that's why I believe that this is an important topic for us. Okay. What I think celebrating fear opens up for you is 3 things. 1, it's a really cool system. Once we start understanding how fear shows up for us and the way that it works, we can start to manipulate it and make it work for us instead of being controlled by it. Okay, so understanding the system really helps us to figure out what in this can I manipulate and what in this is real. Okay, so that's 1. Second one is it's just a really cool learning opportunity. The biggest things that happen are often the biggest learning tools for us. So it's a really powerful mechanism to understand like your patterns and the way that your brain works, etc. by kind of leaning in and celebrating fear and getting to know it rather than like trying to throw it out the window. And the third thing is when fear shows up, it's because something big is happening and there's something that our system is recognizing as unsafe, but that just means a challenge to the status quo, which is what change is. Like, it's the good stuff means that the status quo is being disrupted, which is what we want, but then our system doesn't like it, so it tries to shut it down. So when fear shows up, it's like, all right, some good stuff is happening. It's on the horizon. Those are the 3 reasons why I believe celebrating fear can be super powerful. 1, understanding it and getting to know the system means that you can figure out how to make it work for you. 2, it's a really cool learning opportunity to get to know yourself better. And 3, it means good stuff is on the horizon. Okay? All fear is our brain evolved to look after our body. And fear was a really important byproduct of that because it kept us safe. The quicker you reacted to something that was life-threatening, the more likely you were to survive and then have children and like have your offspring, and you know how evolution works. Fear had a really important purpose, and it's not a particularly sophisticated system. It's pure reaction. It's like fight, flight, freeze in an instant. It doesn't really stick around to be rationalized with, because you can do that when a woolly mammoth was about to stampede you. You needed to get it done. Fear had that purpose for us for a really long time, and so we can't kind of hold it against it, if you see what I mean. It serves such an important purpose for us that we kind of need to understand that. Now, the way fear works now is we have another component we have many new components to our brain, but we can now rationalize and kind of nuance out and problem solve, and that's in the front of our brain, our prefrontal cortex. And that is where we can start to be like, oh, actually, you know what, maybe this isn't quite as scary. And like, that's where we can start to play around with it. We're not slave to the system. We can and do have agency and influence over this. One note of caution though, this sophisticated part of our brain, it can be a bit tricksy, and often when fear is showing up for you, it's because there's a situation that felt very similar, or your brain is remembering when something like this caused you pain or upset, and that can actually kickstart the more basic bitch part of your brain that just goes into fight, flight, freeze. So I'm telling you this to inspire you that you do have agency here, and also be really aware of how your thoughts progress, because you can kind of rationalize yourself into feeling fear even if it's not particularly real. Okay, so it's a little bit about the system. That was such a high level overview. If you want to talk about this more, let me know, because I love this topic. I could talk about it for days. So fear had a purpose in us. We can understand the system a little bit more. We can understand that we can rationalize, we can get ourselves out of it. How do we do that? Right, here we go. Here's my 3 things. Before I give you that, I just really want to be clear, and this is what I always say to my clients, like, be kind to yourself and set yourself up for success. Like, don't do this when you're super anxious. Like, don't be diving into fear, running off the cliff, or whatever dramatic thing that you do. Get yourself calm to do this work. Do deep breathing. Breath work is so powerful. The simplest things are often the most effective. Do some breath work. Do anything that gets you grounded and present. What fear does to our brain is it either catastrophizes us into the future, or it reminds us of the pain of the past. And we can kind of get lost there. So bring it back to the now by touching something, doing your breath work, doing anything that makes you here, okay? Make sure you're in that space before you go playing around with this stuff, because this is big and real. So the 3 things that you can do: 1, sit with the fear. Uncomfortable, I get it. Try something easy. So when you're already calm, try something that spikes your system just a little bit. Don't go to the scariest thing, like build your muscle here. Sit with it. Understand, how does it show up in my body? How does it show up in my thoughts? Where do my thought cycles go? Where do I catastrophize? Like, just get really curious, and then you can start to spot the patterns. Then you can start to have agency in this and take action around it. But build that awareness first. 2 is you can, and I get this one sounds hard. Again, do your breathing exercises, get yourself calm. Go with it. Catastrophize the shit out of the situation. Like, go where your brain is telling you you're gonna go. And very often you'll see it's not that scary. You're not actually gonna die. It's not as bad as you think it's gonna be. But playing it out allows you to rationalize it and understand where you have levers to pull. So play around with that. All right, here's the fun one. Listen out for what you're actually fearful of. Like, our brains want to kind of tell us a cute little story about what we're really afraid of. But often it's just pretty base things that are happening on. Like, I'm worried that I won't actually be liked. I'm worried nobody's going to actually love me. I'm worried that I'm going to die. Pretty base things. And once you listen out for what's really going on, that's where you have the most amount of power to influence change. Okay? So my 3 things: sit with fear, explore it, understand how it shows up for you. 2, catastrophize, see that the end result's actually not that likely and you probably can do a ton of stuff to minimize that risk. And 3, listen out for what is actually going on. All right, celebrate fear. And if any of those things become too much for you, because this is a lot, stop and come back to the present. Do your breath work, ground yourself, all of that stuff. Any of these things you need support with, DM me and I'll give you a ton of thoughts on this. Great. All right. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what comes up for you, how this shows up. I'm really excited to see how this lands with you. So enjoy.